Alright, got a 2006 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD. It's got the Allison 1000 6-speed transmission in it. I'm going to install an Allison Transco Junior shift kit in it. It's a two-wheel drive truck with a flatbed. A few modifications to the engine, a Power Max, stage 1 turbo on it, diamond eye downpipe, MagnaFlow, stainless 4-inch exhaust on it, EGR delete, PVC reroute. It's mostly the common things to do to the Duramaxes, but I tow with it, so I'd like to help the transmission live as long as I can. So on YouTube I didn't really see a lot of videos on installing this one. I've seen the complete one, the much rather large one where you have to take the tranny out. But the Transco Junior, there it is. You just got to pull the pan off, remove the valve body, and trim solenoid A and B. And this kit even comes with a little drill bit on the separation plate. It'll show you where you need to drill your corresponding holes out to 125 thousandths. But I was going to see, I've heard 3 to 4 hours to do it, but I got our internal filter or screw-on filter. I was going to put a new rear seal, output shaft seal on it too. I've seen a little seepage coming from it. AMSOIL transmission fluid. Tranny's getting to where it's staying pretty warm when I'm towing with it. Ambient temperature can be in the 80s. Transmission temperature be close to about 200. I just feel like a little too warm because I'm not really towing that much. Maybe 5 to 7,000 pounds, maybe. But I figured I'd do a video on how to do it, so I'm going to see what we got to do. Got to jack it up first of all, so I can get to it. But there's the pan, the screw-on filter. I'm going to put a output shaft seal in it there. But I'm going to jack it up, drain the fluid, pull the valve body, and kind of show what it consists of it and what to do, and relearn after we get it in there. So we'll get started. Alright, got the pan off of it. Had 12 bolts, 13mm heads. That's a reusable gasket. Most of these Allisons come with it. You don't really have to purchase one. This transmission service has been about 11,000 miles ago, and we had no band material or clutch friction material, anything like that in it. The only thing that was there is just a little bit of that, which is probably normal. And I've never done one of these shift kits, so this ought to be an experience. But what I did to the valve body was go ahead and pull a lot of this stuff out. There's what it looks like. Pan off, filter out of the way. This electrical harness, and it plugs into your solenoids. Those, you just squeeze the sides of them in, they'll come out. These bluish color ones here on this one, basically just grab them and rock them and they'll come right out. And to get this harness out, there's 2 clips. They're right there, little wire clip, and that's what actually holds your solenoid in also. So what I do is hold in on this. If you pair a needle nose, a pick or something, and you'll pop that out, and it's like a hair clip. It'll come out, both of them. You let go of your solenoid, and then that'll come up out of the way. And I'll tuck it back over here, trying to be a little easy with the wires. I definitely don't need that. That'll be for a bad day to break a wire and find out after you get it all back together or something. But then I just push these hair clips back up in there, keep my solenoids from falling out. And there is definitely a buttload of bolts in this. An 8mm head for every one of them. You got some that are just black oxide coating, and some of them that are a gold, almost anodized. I think it's a zinc coating on them. And just take a little mental note of where some of them are. And I cracked every one of these loose, because I mean that was like a 20-minute job to take them all loose. But all of them that holds this and this tube, you can take those out. And these things never stop stinking dripping. I mean, I think you could leave them open for 2 days and they'd still be dripping. So my armpits are covered in tranny fluid. Runs down your arms and everything. But I decided to do this not on a lift, not nothing fancy, just like what anybody that could view it would be wanting to do. I have built 700 R4s, 350 turbos. I've never been into an Allison whatsoever. Kits, you can find them for under $100, and that should firm up your shifts and downshifts and make these trannies live a lot longer, especially if you got a tune 450 to 500 horsepower, or you know, you're pushing a borderline of them. I've always heard the Allisons are really good, really strong. Well, I think it's the fact that they're smarter. They'll defuel your motor. They got a very limited amount of slip before they'll go into limp mode. I've never had this one in limp mode, but thank God. But those bolts out, just kind of drop down, push it off of that tube. That tube, there is no seal in it. But I'll lay it back down over here, stick the bolts that come out of it back in it. I've got cardboard laying, rags, just this stuff is messy. Alright, and then this tube. I don't even have a book on this, so if I run into any trouble, I'm back on the internet. Instructions that come with the Transcode Junior, or they seem to be pretty simple, but we'll definitely find out. And most all of these black bolts that I have pulled out have not seen. I'll pull them out and check them, and just to make sure that I don't have one that's longer than the others, ones that's shorter than the other. If it is, I'll have to make a note of it. When I go to, I'm trying to get this camera balanced to where I can still film while I'm doing this, and I hope there's not too much stuff falls up out of it. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Maybe that'll work. So I'm going to proceed. I still got my drip pan under it. See how long it takes us to get all these dang bolts out. Get a little pan or something to put all these bolts and stuff that comes off of here. More tranny fluid. Most of the time when you pull all this stuff down, it's pretty intimidating to look at. You sure don't want to take a transmission that might cost you $4,000 or $5,000, $10,000, depending on what kind of improvements you do to it, and start tearing it apart and drilling stuff in it and adding this. It's kind of a scary fact, but still, if you can do this at home in one day, or even a whole weekend for that fact, $100 worth of parts, do it when you get ready to service your tranny, save you a lot of money. Make sure everything stayed on that. Alright, we got another tube. It's got a couple of these bolts that holds this tube in. It goes back to the solenoids. I think these actually hold the solenoids up in there. I actually think that'll stay on there. That tube will. Didn't seem like it wanted to come off. So that one's a little short one. Go ahead and take this dent lever, I think is what it's called. Holds your parking brake and moves your range shift indicator. Holds it in there. I bought this truck a little over a year ago. Had 159,000 miles already on it. It's used for a welding service truck. Probably seen its fair share of heavy loads. Actually a company vehicle. But I've not had really any issues with it at all. After I got the Edge programmer, I want to do EFI Live on it real bad, but hadn't got the money up for it. But with the Edge programmer on extreme setting, if I drive it easy, like Grandpa watched the mileage coach, I'll average about 19.5 mile per gallon around town. I hardly ever drive on the freeway Monday through Friday. And if I tow, I'll get about 14 to 15 on it in tow. Can't really complain about it. Should be all of our bolts. See if I'm missing one. No. Hopefully we can just walk this valve body down. Spin back around here and see if I see anything. One more wire up here. I didn't unplug. There we go. Yeah, that top solenoid. I don't really see anything. Looks like it may have be dowel pins also. Alignment pins. Well, I hate for that thing to fall. Let's see if we can keep wiggling. I feel like it's getting looser. Still, I feel like it ought to come off more. It's like something over here on this side is wanting to hold it. get around over there and look at it. Ain't found nothing yet. Try to keep my hands as clean as possible. I'll have to go over on the other side and see if I can find out anything. Alrighty. Pan a little bit. There we go. She cracked loose then. It was just on them dial pins, really snug. There's our whole valve body off. There's the bottom side of the tranny. Now I've got to attempt to get this valve body out of here. That thing's fairly heavy. Pull our seal out for our filter. Try not to scrape the bore there. Popped right out. We'll put a new one of those in when we put the pan on it. Put the filter in before. But, that's about it. It's just on these dowel pins. A couple locations for dowel pins I had it hung up. We'll go in and tear the valve body apart. See what that looks like. Alright, got our valve body off. I set it up here on the workbench and I pulled all of our solenoids out of it and transferred them over here. Keep them in order. These two center ones here, I was telling you about that, the wiring harness clip. It goes right down into there. And that was the clip I was talking about. You can pull it up and get your wiring harness hold down bracket out of the way. You can pull them out and lay it. These valves here, right in there. Use a magnet to retract them. Got a spring. I laid them in order. If we look in our Transgo Junior installation there, it shows the valve body. Tells you about your solenoids by what color the ends of them are. You got a brown and a black. Trim solenoid A and B. It's fairly easy on the. There's what we got to replace from A and B. Is these two inserts and the springs that go with them, and then the separator plate. We've got to drill 2 holes out there. But I'm going to see if I can separate this. I found out there's a couple, I don't want to do no prying on it, but you can ever so slightly. This one wasn't even stuck, but you can just screwdriver right in there and kind of pop it loose. And see if I can do this with one hand. I doubt I can. No. Set the camera up, see if we can get a look at it. Alright, see if we can separate it. Pretty much got to pull it straight up. There we go. There's our plate. It's what the bottom side of the valve body and all the passages. But we'll have to brake clean it. Set this slightly over here out of the way. Here's our plate we got to modify. Yeah, it just comes right up. We'll have to locate those two holes. That has to be drilled out to 125 thousandths. And if we can look in here, separator plate. Now that looks just like that one. See if I can get it. Should be that little hole. We got to drill out. And should be the other one right there. We have to drill those out, but I'll triple check and mark and make sure 100% that's what I'm gonna do. So we know you don't want to drill the wrong one. But we'll get to drilling that plate. I've taken a few hours off since I pulled the valve body. Been working on a friend's Hodaka. 60s model Ace 100 Hodaka, but go from Allison transmission to a Hodaka motorcycle. But I might do a little video on this thing real quick for anybody that's ever messed with the Hodakas. We fully restored it, bored the motor 50 over, made a bunch of parts for it, but got the headlight assembly to get the rest of the way together. So I've been bouncing from this back to the Allison, and so probably time invested as of this point to get this off. I've got about an hour and 30 minutes in it. But when it comes time to drill a hole, I'll drill it and film it all of reinstalling our trim valves back in there, and we'll go from there.